This video is a short overview of a recently completed research project regarding the World War II submarine campaigns of Germany and the United States. So in the first tab, we have the U-boat war displayed month by month from September 1939 to May 1945. The top section lists the total number of Allied merchant ships sunk by U-boats only each month. A couple notable Allied warship losses are included. The number of Allied ships lost excludes merchant vessels of 300 tons or less, with only a few minor exceptions. Fishing vessels and tugboats have been excluded from the total. The total number of Allied merchant ships lost to U-boats in World War II will likely vary from researcher to researcher based on their personal counting method. So in the middle of the chart, we have a simplified view of when each side was able to read the other's naval codes. British naval ciphers are listed first, followed by the German Enigma machine. So it's my personal opinion that even if the Allies were unable to crack the German Navy's four-rotor Enigma machine, I believe the U-boat war would have ended largely the exact same, just due to the sheer number of anti-submarine warships at sea from 1943 onward. And then lastly, at the bottom of the chart, we have German U-boat losses month by month. And you can see there, each cell contains the number assigned to the sunk U-boat that month. A couple of unique incidents are included in this yellowish tan color. Two of them I counted as losses to enemy action, while three I did not. So there's a couple here in black May that I did not count as losses to enemy action, but thought they were interesting enough to include. It's also interesting to note that with the war ending in May of 1945, on May 8th, 22 U-boats were sunk over that 8-day period. Also including April of 1945, the highest monthly losses of U-boats of the entire war. So in the second tab, we have the U.S. submarine campaign in the Pacific. This chart is laid out a bit differently than the Atlantic. The top section shows Japanese warships sunk month by month by U.S. submarines. The Japanese warships listed are those who were given names only, which would exclude the Type C and Type D escort vessels that were just given numbers. Ships with the yellow background were sunk by either British or Dutch submarines, and notably contributed to the first and the last Japanese destroyers sunk by submarines in the Pacific. The middle section of the chart visualizes American submarine losses each month, with the most losses being 4 in October 1944. The note in each cell contains the name of each submarine that was lost. The bottom of the chart displays Japanese merchant ships sunk by American submarines. This data comes from the February 1947 Joint Army-Navy Assessment Committee report titled Japanese Naval and Merchant Shipping Losses During World War II by All Causes. The report only lists Japanese merchant vessels 500 tons or greater. I've heard this report is not perfect, but I have included it as a good assessment of the U.S. submarine campaign of World War II. The link to this report is in the cell notes over here. One thing that kind of stands out with the Pacific chart is with how short the Pacific War was by comparison to Europe. The Imperial Japanese Navy went from the third largest navy in the world to almost nothing over a period of 3 years. Japan's loss at Midway happened just 7 months into the war. The Japanese Navy would then go on to lose many ships in the Solomon Islands campaign, and then just 2 years after the Battle of Midway would get crushed at the Battle of the Philippine Sea, and then just 5 months later was basically destroyed at the Battle of Leyte Gulf. I mean, I think that when we reflect on these battles in terms of a timeline of 2 or 2.5 years, The Imperial Japanese Navy put on a pretty dismal showing during the war. The charts here are really just to visualize an interesting component of World War II. The research for the U-boat chart was something I completed over 5 years ago for a museum exhibit, but I decided to recreate it with the benefits of a digital version that can allow for different data and more data to be included. So these two charts are not really related to my work on the Imperial Japanese Navy shipbuilding efforts, which I have done a pretty major facelift on this chart since the last time I talked about it. I last shared it publicly on the combined fleet forums, since I figured that community would likely find it somewhat interesting. The chart also now contains some data on the cost of Japanese warships in the yen value that they were ordered at. So that's really all I have for today. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below, or you can call it the compliment section and just say nice things to each other. I'll catch you next time.